sort of play the glue role and pushing the ball forward. And so I'm really blessed to have some of the smartest people in the world, from the wellness community, from the science community, from mental health and wellness, from the veteran community, from police, fire, from the psychology, all these communities. So it sort of comprise our team. We're sort of like the Avengers. We all have our little special powers.
Sweet.
But you need everybody together.
And this is another nugget. You never want to feel that your role and what you bring, your energy, right? You are life. Your life is helping collide and create cohesiveness to have this. Is it a vision of outcome, or is it destiny? Is there already all these people that you've come across, and you're all bouncing off each other, and I just love to be another bounce ray of light to engage with you more as much as possible.
So practitioners, the leaders, any mentors, those are the first people we want through the door. We can't touch every single person in the world. We're only a small team, and so we need the leaders and the people that are the agents of change, the people that are making the moves. We need them to come in, we need to get their cup overflowing, and they need to go back out into the world and do their thing.
We're talking about your fellow military guy, right?
Yeah. My platoon sergeant, Sergeant Land, just the way he led with no ego, but he was such a powerful person, was a really, really cool thing to see. And where a lot of people in the military, a lot of leadership, they probably shouldn't have been in those positions. They weren't leaders, but they were in leadership positions, and I didn't really take too well to that. So he was one of those leaders that was legit, and I would follow him into a firefight and into imminent death that we did many of times.
Right. I mean, just that statement, that just applies across the board. You know what I mean? People have that it factor in terms of, right, being able to put a message out, when you say, like, almost selfless, like, okay, this is our mission, this is our goal, to encourage you and, create such a camaraderie, just natural. So I can completely identify with that whole thing. But so your guys have found a way to stimulate the digitally psychedelic experience. Okay, without taking any substances, but can you tell me how it works and why is it so effective?
Yeah, and let me just give you a little science breakdown here. So basically,
Sure,
the human system is comprised. Let me start that over. The human system is comprised of the mind, body, and soul, if you believe that.
for
And
sure.
it's a rhythm-seeking organism. That's why you probably are attracted to music and art and stuff like that, and movement with exercise. And from the beat of the heart to the oscillations of the brain waves, are physiologically, and our consciousness responds predictably to pattern and stimuli. And so what we've done at the Reality Center is harness scientifically validated principles of entrainment, and which is the innate tendency of biological systems to synchronize with external rhythmic inputs. And by precisely combining light, sound, and vibration, soundscapes, we're able to guide individuals into altered states of consciousness that provide healing, clarity, and tons of transformation. And basically, when the mind is exposed to a consistent audio, visual, and vibrational patterns, neuroactivity begins to mirror those frequencies, resulting in a measurable shift in brainwave states. Whether the goal is to slow down into a deeply restorative theta state or accelerate into high focus gamma, our proprietary technology enables rapid access to these mental states.
Wow. That is so awesome. That is
And
so awesome.
without substances, the body in turn follows the shift, regulating the breath, calming the nervous system, and regulating stored tension. The soul, which is often left out of modern clinical interventions, responds as well, awakening to stillness, insight, or inspiration, depending on the rhythm that we give to you. And so this synchronized feedback loop between environment and inner world is the essence of the reality center experience. And
Wow.
by delivering careful, curated rhythmic input, we offer a direct embodied path to nervous system balance, mental clarity, and spiritual resonance. And the
That,
result is a new kind of therapy, one that transcends traditional talk or chemical approaches and instead reminds the human system of its own power to regulate, heal, and harmonize when it's
oh,
simply giving the right rhythm to follow.
I mean, that is so like so scientifically eloquently described. So thank you. Um, but that is just so obviously like on point of homeostasis, right? I mean, in terms of
And just to be honest with you, the reason why people drink or do drugs, they're ultimately looking for that profound sense of self transcendence and okayness that we get
exactly.
when we release ourselves and rise above our separate ego and become one with everything. And at that moment, realizations you get can instantly change your life forever.
Uh, you know, I have to keep repeating this because, and I'm going to quote this person, Eckhart Tolle, and it's a statement that is just so simple in terms of like he just mentions about like when people try to describe my life. He's like, get out of your own head. You are life. You are that frequency, that energy, that technology, that colorful energy of bouncing cells around your body. And we are one for sure. And it's that distraction of, it's one of the reasons why I left media, Jonathan, because I was a creative artist. I was living in Dayton. I ended up moving to Chicago. I wanted to be that cool art director that shot Nerf basketballs and talked about creative creative campaigns. And I'm so old. It was before computers, dude. So I'm way old. Um, but then I got to a point where I had an epiphany when I was like 28 years old. Like, what do I want to be remembered for? And so the top clients in advertising were pharmaceutical drugs, really poor food, alcohol, cigarettes, and all the vices where we know business. When you talk about early industrial development and world and all that kind of stuff, it's like, hey, you can find people's vices, right? Take advantage of them, and there's a certain addiction control factor. And then you mentioned like the pharmaceuticals. It's like we know that path now. It's like, okay, shake it up and all that stuff. So again, I go back to go west, young man. For whatever reason, man, Jonathan, I have to applaud you because your purpose. You're exactly where you need to be, and you are doing the exact kind of work that it was your destiny, man. This is you ultimately going with that gut, that heart, whatever you want to call it, right? Sometimes when your parents or somebody looks at you like, what are you doing? Like, what the hell, right? You're gonna what, take a chance on not having something steady that you hate? What the hell? That's just no bueno to me. But so tell me, as a combat veteran, how has your military experience shaped your approach to leadership, healing, and serving others?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. Um, I think from a leadership standpoint, you got to see, echoing what I said before, you got to see very bad leaders, and you had the couple amazing leaders that you gravitated towards. And I think, I saw leaders that were yelling at their privates and their subordinates to things like, you better run faster, you better do this better as we were training, because, when we go to war, it's going to be like X, Y, and Z, and you're not going to have your mommy or daddy or, whatever that language was.
Right.
Then I saw that same leader when bullets start flying, duck and cover, and the same private that they maybe told people were, not as high speed or some kind of scumbag, pick up that same person's weapon and start engaging the enemy. And so it really showed you that you really don't know the essence or core of a person, how they're going to react in these fight or flight situations until they're actually in it, right? And that's why me and my
Absolutely.
friends were, I think, so close in high school. We were little tough, kids from Ohio, and we got into a lot of battles and
Scrappy.
fights in high
Sure,
school, and
sure.
and drinking. We grew up in the gangster rap era,
Okay.
uh, and we got in a lot of battles. And when you get in these mini little battles with your friends, you become, there's the people that don't do anything in the corner. Then there's the people that jump in and throw a punch and defend you or whatever it is, and
Right.
you really see the core essence of a person, and if you can trust that person. And so that's why before a lot of them passed away in that car wreck, we were close, we were familia.
Mm.
And so I think it really opened your eyes of that you have to constantly be testing people,
Yeah.
to see where their head's at in life, and not because they can't do it or don't want to do anything. Some people don't have the bandwidth to perform when the shit's hitting the fan, and they can perform in different ways. But who you surround yourself with was the big
Exactly.
thing.
Absolutely, right?
I've had the same, thankfully I've had the same business partners that wanted to put up with me for the last decade of my life. Shout out to them. And they've really been, I would, but uh, them in my life, they've been great mentors and guides in my life where
Yeah.
I was hardcore one way and they got me thinking a different way. And it's not until I, did those type of ceremonies and experiencing the deep powers of psychedelics that it really shifted the course of my life. I was always a man of service and always, you know, I'm very generous with the things that I have, and the people that give me things to give to other people and help out other people.
Sure.
Brands and companies that I work with. Just for instance, referencing COVID, we got to donate millions and millions of dollars of COVID masks, testing, rubber gloves, PPE items, whatever it is, just because people will be like, "Hey, John, I have a warehouse full of COVID masks. I know you're connected with the community. I want to
Getting it
give them
out
to you."
there.
I'll be like, "I'm on my way with a tractor trailer." If somebody called me right now in our call and said they have a warehouse full of potatoes, I would fine. I would take them, talk somebody into talk my father-in-law into storing them in his 8,000 square foot warehouse, using his forklift, renting his forklift in the walls, breaking things myself,
There, yeah,
and
there you go.
calling my buddies to see if anybody needs potatoes in their community. And I've just, our team has just always been about that, and we've been men and women of action. Uh, when you go to the military, you learn how to be selfless. You learn how you're living for somebody other than yourself. It's really to the person to the left and the right. Then, secondly, the people of America or the people of Iraq or wherever I was at. And so it really thrust you into the selfless service situation, which is one of the Army core values. And I've just been trying to live them and try to be a better human since I got out. And I got out and I created my first business when I wasn't in a mode of healing myself.
Mm.
I didn't really have much chance to look in the mirror and see myself on video or this documentary of myself on how I was acting, how I was treating people, how I would easily fly off the handle or raise my voice or talk
Mm.
to people like they were my subordinate and not a normal human being.
Mm.
Basically, how we talk to each other in the military, that you became numb and resistant to because that's just how it was. That was the culture. That was the culture competency.
The condition you, and I got to give you a shout out to that Midwest work ethic, my man, because there ain't no better, bigger, stronger work ethic than the Midwest. So we're
Yep.
I have to relate that and say something as well for that Midwest character and that know how and get it done and your resourcefulness and go back of like that passionate community. When my favorite, I end up going, when you go to when you ever hear that statement, go west, young man. And the reason that kind of came about was like, obviously, the gold rush way back in the day. But if you think about it, right, you have these traditional Eastern philosophies, right? And then when you keep going west around the world, ultimately it starts over if you fall off the edge of California. So heading across the United States, I felt like I had to go. Like, okay, because you can be anything and everything you want to be out there. And I brought along my Midwest work ethic. And it ironically enough, everybody I ran into and were my best friends were all from the Midwest. And so, there's something about, we go back to that, like, and again, I'm trying to create nuggets for my listeners, young and old. There's mentors all around us every day. We talk about We're Life, right? We're bumping into each other. And one of the things I say, Jonathan, to people is like, okay, if we can't just try to understand that we are all one and that we can just kindness, just be kind. And if you're not capable, if you're dealing with some stuff, right, can you at least just be quiet? That's kindness, right? When you don't say something. And again, there's so many people across this country that are struggling, and we know that young men are in a crisis, and that's a deep conversations on multiple levels. But we're here both. You are doing admirable work that's so exciting. So listen, what challenges, like, did you face some initial challenges when you're like kind of like building and contributing to this community that you kind of grasp onto, this new therapeutic stuff? Was there challenges there?
Yeah, because we're the only people in the world that we create and make all of this technology ourselves internally, and so there was no roadmap. We created the new flow tank, we created the new cold plunge, we created the new, it's just a complete new modality that we own and we created ourselves. And we're not a private equity fund, we don't have a big company behind us, we're just a small sort of special forces team of
Nice.
some of the most brilliant minds that are
That's
human
amazing.
beings.
That's amazing.
And I've been really blessed. I'm definitely not the smart one in the group. There is most people are way smarter than me, and that's why I'm just sort of play the glue role and pushing the ball forward. And so I'm really blessed to have some of the smartest people in the world, from the wellness community, from the science community, from mental health and wellness, from the veteran community, from police, fire, from psychology, all these communities. So it sort of comprise our team. We're sort of like the Avengers. We all have our little special powers,
Sweet.
but you need everybody together
Yeah.
to make the most effect. And so I'm honored to lead this team of amazing, selfless people. We care about our local community, but we're thinking about the entire planet as a whole when we make
Sure.
moves. Obviously, we had to start in our own community, our own backyard, our veteran community, and we made such a profound impact in changing so many people's lives. Police are coming in the door, firefighters are coming in the door. Our number one paid client that pays us is psychologists. All the police and fire and the people that are coming in there and the veterans are going to their talk therapists, and they're telling them how this has changed their life, and they're looking at them, probably writing it down, like, where did you say you were at? The reality center? How do you spell that? And they're coming
Wow.
in. They're coming in the door, and
That's super impressive.
like our good friend Richard Branson said, the customer doesn't come first. The the employees come first, and when you take care of the employees and their cup is overflowing, they will take care of the clients. And
Yes.
so practitioners, the leaders, any mentors, those are the first people we want through the door. We can't touch every single person in the world. We're only a small team, and so we need the leaders and the people that are the agents of change, the people that are making the moves. We need them to come in, we need to get their cup overflowing, and they need to go back out into the world and do their thing.
You know, uh, I'll be first to get in line to help spread the seeds, man, for sure. Uh, you know, by far, this is a I'm super excited for you, and these are kinds of messages that we need to get into ingrained into the Midwest, right? Sometimes they just stop short, blah blah blah. Everybody's got challenges, like I mentioned before, but in terms of innovation and um, you know kind of those, and I will call you, every team needs a cheerleader, my man. And you're this enthusiastic energy that brings everybody together. I formed a whole band in California before I moved back here on my enthusiasm. And I was the least talented guy. And I found some major musicians, and that's why we got together. And at a time, right? You never, and this is another nugget. You never want to feel that your role and what you bring, your energy, right? You are life. Your life is helping collide and create cohesiveness to have this. Is it a vision of outcome, or is it destiny? Is it already all these people that you've come across, and you're all bouncing off each other? And I just love to be another bounce ray of light to get engage with you more as much as possible. And I only want to bring, I try to bring, I've lived in over 34 different countries.
Wow.
I've lived in Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York. So I've been around. I've seen the world. I've seen all the the extremes, and I have a huge respect for, like, just every individual, from the janitor to the CEO, or whatever you want to call it. I have that example, but I'd like to feel that I'm bringing the world to Ohio, and to Dayton specifically, and Dayton to the
Mm.
world. And I look forward to, because I had long history in California, over 15 years. So, I'll be excited to, get out there and hook up with you and learn more about that as well. So, and all the effort. So it's exciting. It's unfortunately, like, we have to be so excited about something that has been years and years in the making, and just like, why can't we just get this together? And so hopefully through the leadership in our country, won't go there, but let's hope that there's enough of this passionate force, like these podcasts and us can work, that can inspire more and create that surge of positivity and and wellness. So
And cool thing. Sorry, before I forget
yeah,
about this. And
sure,
and the cool thing is the position that, and I tell people all the time when I go do speeches or talk to people or do podcasts or interviews or whatever, I tell this to people all the time. When we all got back in 2003 to 2010, the core of the Iraq War, some a little bit later than that. Um, both sides, doesn't matter what side you're on, everybody's
yeah,
has a soft spot in their heart for veterans. Maybe not the war that we're fighting in, but the veterans that put their life on the line to look out for us. And I think that the veterans have been the most pivotal piece in this new modern mental health movement for change, because we were at the society built this hierarchy of healing, a strategic line of where you fit in the line. And veterans were just, not because we wanted to be, we would probably put ourselves at the end of the line. That's why we went to war in the first place, because we care about other people and we're selfless. And but it was this anomaly that we got every single dollar in the book thrown at us to help our community heal. It took time, but it just started ramping up like crazy, right? Outside medical professionals knew they can get contracts with, some of it was directly for money. I don't care, as long as they're helping our community.
right,
Others just because people wanted to help. And we've been the lab rats, getting poked and prodded, sticking our finger in the light socket, getting electrocuted, falling off getting pushed to the edge, falling off the edge, getting caught. And now we have a story to tell. And when you had so much death and destruction in our community from pills, never ending talk therapy, some of the only things that were available for post-traumatic stress that wasn't really plugging the holes right away, and people were self-soothing and self-medicating outside of those systems. Well, we built our own system over this last decade that's outside of the healthcare system, that's outside of the VA system. And we know exactly what to do when a veteran is struggling now. And now we have opened the eyes of other people, and the difference between veterans and, say, first responders, veterans, or police officers, psychologists, they're still working. They're still on the front line, so they can't be weak.
Right.
I cry every other day. I cry at commercials. I cry doing podcasts. I cry, watching TikToks, people doing good things for the community, and we aren't
Right.
working anymore. And so we had a good time to just sit with our post-traumatic stress, sit with our symptoms, the stress, the anxiety, the hyperarousalness that leads us to not being able to sleep very well, that leads to depression, feeling like this Groundhog's Day. And the
Yeah.
ones that couldn't take it, they're not here with us anymore. And the ones that survived and are thriving, we have a story to tell. We have things to share. We are testifying in court. We are using our voices to tell stories through social media and through content creation. We're not clean shaved anywhere. Most of our guys are wearing beards. We're wearing tie-dye shirts. Everybody's smoking weed. Everybody's doing psychedelics. We're doing hyperbaric. We're doing stem cells when our back hurts. We're doing all the good things now. We're doing CBT. We're doing all the great things. And we're doing, shout out to Stella, Stella ganglion blocks, all the things in our sphere now. And a lot of these things aren't approved by the VA yet. They're not
Right.
approved by modern medicine. Insurance is not paying for them. And so it took us running 750 veterans over the course of 3 years before we got the first grant.
You know what?
That's making. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
And it's making it a little bit more sustainable for us. So shout out to the Department of Mental Health, shout out community partners, Geeta, Dr. John Sheeran, our advisors, and our whole team that's made these things possible. Because now I just get to treat my community completely free. Not saying we're doing it free before, but now we get to, pay ourselves and make our business more sustainable so we can actually grow it and treat more veterans and share this program across all of the other, sort of hubs that have big swaths of veterans, police officers, psychologists. And the cool thing is, not to get too far off track, but my good friend Diane Hallman, who was the clinical director at Cybin, who was the first the first publicly traded company that was creating patented psychedelic molecules. So this can be giving in hospitals and normal healthcare. Sorry, I forgot what was that. Lost my train of thought there.
What was she doing there?
Oh, sorry, shit, I forgot. So at Cybin, they are patenting molecules that will get injected into the healthcare system for psychedelics.
Wow. So, there's a couple, listen, any pioneers that have the courage and to struggles to create something that is not only new and waiting to be unfolded, but, we have to admit that the overwhelming historic, energies of the big picture here in our country, it's almost like that whole thing of like, I gave up that puritanical, like hardcore, like expectations for myself, and to not limit myself to be able to step out of the box, be open, just talk about everything you want to talk about and address it full flat out. And so, again, I applaud you guys. You're there not only, you've planted the seed, but you had to actually almost through your work organically, through all the, you're as a cheerleader with all your team, you've created this seed. It's been planted. It's starting to grow. And then I think it's going to be like almost like bamboo. You can't.
All right, so now I remember.
Stop that.
Now I remember. So through my good friend Diane Hallman at Cybin, who was the clinical director at the time, she invited me to a book signing of, I think it was the president or CEO of Cybin. And I get there, it's on Hollywood. We eat some amazing dinner. Then we go across the street, and I noticed it was a place that they filmed RuPaul's Drag Race at. And I'm like, all right, in Hollywood now.
Okay.
And I look up at the monitors and all the banners, and the book was called Queering Psychedelics. And I was like, all right, let me listen to what's going on here. And each chapter in the book was written by a different person from that community. I sat there and listened to them all come up and tell their story, sort of their quick, unabridged, quick version of their hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And after listening to them, I realized that maybe veterans shouldn't be first in the hierarchy, that some of these other communities may have just as much or even more post-traumatic stress on a daily with their general life and just because who they are
Right.
than the veteran community, and really started opening my eyes when I was all in on the veteran community. And I said, wow, there's all these other communities that are just as much in turmoil, maybe even more. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, people want to put me on podcasts, people want to celebrate my story, but maybe the 18-year-old kid that's going through transition or coming out of the closet, maybe nobody's applauding their story yet. Maybe they're getting called names as they go down the street. Maybe they're losing their job. Maybe they're getting made fun of in school. And so nobody's really making fun of me walking down the street.
You know that I'm glad you pointed that out, because it is obviously something that we can get around to, in highlighting the veterans. And I can speak 100% from that. My father was in the Army. He worked multiple years in the space program for the Air Force, and our, what we brought us to, right? Our military might in aviation, and made us the leader in the world, right? All that. And it goes back to that Midwest hard grit, and, the fact that we suffered so many lost jobs in industrial, right, manufacturing in the Midwest, and that was the key stroke that just threw things into chaos. But that now the past behind us, and it goes back to just that whole thing of the power of the communities. And I applaud you again, because you're on this wave that is building, and you're making moves, and you're still looking, what do you call it? You're still looking on the beach to say, hey, we haven't forgotten you, please come, right? Either come find us, or you're noticing other surfers that are trying to, right, come into the waves, as an analogy, whatever, that are making efforts. And I would like to consider myself one of those guys, right? Throw myself in the pool, and to think that we are not just talking about stuff and have an opinion about something, but act and just purpose and do it. And so I think it starts, like, again, another nugget is just making a kind word, looking at that young man, looking at that older man. Don't make judgments. You don't know. And it's like, I'm with you so much. And that's what I hope. I hope that the healthcare system, which is a big, big beast, entrenched, but there's got to be a point when the beaches start giving away, and this wave is larger and larger right? It can't be denied,
And we could have started with, it's harder to start as a startup with clinical trials. You need a lot of money, to put through these things to validate what you're doing. But for me, the best validation is actual experience. And so we sort of abandoned that in the beginning, and we're like, let's just bring all these veterans in here and treat them. And so before we got a dollar, we treated probably 750 veterans over the course of 3 years. We do an intro survey on how they're feeling prior on pain, sleep, and stress. Then they do an exit survey on how they're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10, pain, sleep, and stress. Pretty standard scale.
Mm-hmm.
And the improvements that they make just after 1 hour session are astronomical, and you can't deny it. And
Wow.
the cool thing about our technology is where you might have some doctors say, hey, go do this modality, and they never even tried it in their life. The people that are bringing people into the reality center have to come to the reality center. They have to experience it. I've had a lot of people trying to bring people into the reality center. Hey, you got to go do this. I said, you need to get your ass in the door first so you can really speak on what we're doing. And so experience is everything. And so there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be dishing out psychedelics as prescriptions in plant medicine coming up these days into this, and they're doing it now, that have
Right.
never even experienced psychedelics before.
Mm-hmm.
That really don't have the cultural competency or the education. Maybe they had the education, but they don't have the experience to speak on it. They haven't gone over the edge.
you know, you're just describing that, just that ground forces of what makes any successful organized effort be successful is that the ground work on the ground. And I myself are Jonathan, I was a graphic artist designer, right? I'm an artist. I'm a self-read man with heavy into mythology, excuse me, heavy into mythology, and also self-read um, in fitness. And I became basically the balance professor and a specialist in balance by my own, you know, hands-on work with people. And you talk about hands-on experience, and I'll sit down with any physiologist or kinesiologist and share my program, my work, because I have real life stories. I have real life, you know, treatments that are like you said, right? It is the rubber to the road. And so the first thing people want to do is, like, you know, kind of just get related to something, or like not necessarily get their feet wet or have to. It's like, no, 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 no. This is not gonna fly anymore. And you know, you're again, I think this is another nugget where just to be associated with somebody or just say something, you know, no, 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 no. It's like, let's encourage let's encourage everyone. I'm gonna encourage all my listeners right now to, like, come on. Let's get together, have an open mind. If you can't say anything nice or you don't want to contribute in a positive way, maybe just try to be quiet, because there's people here like Jonathan and myself. I consider myself, Jonathan, just like outside the box. Most people like going, who are you? What are you doing? And it's like, I don't need a piece of paper to tell me what I'm doing or who I am. I gave that up a long time ago, and right. So, you know, again, I applaud you for, again, it's important to have a cheerleader, man. And that energy is like, people are attracted to that. And the best advice I ever got, and I didn't realize when I was younger, is like, if you're doing what you love, that energy just radiates out, and people that are supposed to find you, they will find you. And opportunities will be galore, because with preparation comes opportunity. But
Yeah, and it's the old saying, you know, like the friend that says, like, you know, that complains, that says he never wins anything, that says he never gets a break in life. He's the guy that never gets a break in life, and the world is sort of against him. And the person that's, you know, ultimately positive, thankful for the little blessings, even if he's not in a great place, the world sort of looks out for you. And
right, risk taking, right? I mean, we live in the greatest country in the world, right? You're able to practice free will. You can manifest a destiny. I mean, people understand, like, oh, well, you know, we need to stop all these immigrants. Well, wait, we are all immigrants, and we came in here, and the people that really thrive are the ones that are really, right, they're willing to put the work in. Go back to that Midwest work ethic, man. You got to put the work in. And if you don't, right, what do they say? Either fail, or you either succeed or you learn. And if you're not
yep.
open if you're not open to being failing and thinking like, oh, I can't do that because I'm going to fail, then you're never going to succeed with any real pure, what do you call it, long lasting. So listen, you know, I don't want to hold you up too long today. It's been great talking with you. You know, what advice, Jonathan, like based on like your experiences where you're at, would you give someone to, you know, trying to be interested in learning more about what you guys are doing, you know, different potential resources to kind of like get insight? Do you guys have you guys started any kind of direct podcast or kind of feed website, that kind of stuff?
No podcast, but, you know, the Reality Center on Instagram, Facebook is just Reality MGMT, like reality management. And
Mm-hmm.
our website is just at realitymgmt.com,
And
and
so, yeah.
at Reality Center on Instagram. Pretty simple. Lots of science, lots of resources there. How we started, sort of our hero's journey, more stuff to come. But there's definitely a lot of podcasts that we've done. There's tons of press and media, because our experience is so unique. We've been very blessed to have so many senior writers from all the respected media outlets, from LA Times as I was speaking out to, the senior writer Esquire flew in with his wife to experience these things to all the local news stations. Shout out to Casey at KTLA. That's been amazing and always does great reporting on us. And, but if you're looking to change your life, there's many things out there. It's not hard to find. They all provide different levels of relief or healing or whatever you want to call it. First thing what I would say before you try those things is find your community. Find some people you can trust. Find some people you can bounce some ideas off of. Find some people that have already been through the shit that you've been through and have tried to pull themselves out of it. They have a lot of amazing advice. And sometimes that advice and that person is not a doctor or a rich person or a smart person. Sometimes you have to look for inspiration in these nuggets of advice, if you say it, in really some weird places. And you never know. And I would say you can learn a lot of things from a wide variety of people. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I try to listen.
I'm with you there, brother. I'm with you there.
I try to listen as much as I talk. Sometimes I talk more. But that's because we're trying to push something up the hill, and the world needs to know about this. And as my mission was to treat our veteran community, I felt like we've done a great job in that and opened up some doors, and looking for that next change where we're going to take some of our new technology. We're rolling out the first ever vocal biometric engine that reads your vocal biometrics and generates a personalized binaural beat in any brainwave state you want. It's called Intune. We only have one center right now, so looking to scale these centers quite soon, coming up with some partners. But at the end of the day, even if we had 50 centers, that wouldn't reach everybody in the world. So we've created this technology that can be on your phone or your iPad or any of your devices, starting with Intune, the next in Luma. And we put in front of everything because we call what we do entertainment.
I gotcha.
And where a lot of modalities aren't really fun to do, our technology and our I don't want to call it therapy, but our therapy is actually fun and enjoyable. And you get up and you're like, holy shit, that was badass. And you go have dinner with your family, and you're excited to share about your experiencing.
Yes.
People walk other people in the door because it's so unique. And so we really feel like we're on this really cool path to enlightenment, a quicker path. You don't have to practice very long. You don't even have to believe in it. It's going to happen when you come to the reality center, whether or not. But the more you believing it and the more you practice, the more you lean into that breath and those intentions, the deeper you can go, and the more wisdom and information that you can bring back and apply it to your daily life.
I have to, just comment, because you're hitting on the nail where when you say that all these people, and like we mentioned, bouncing around with each other, if you just open to, every moment of your day is this discovery, right? To be open and considerate the consideration of like each moment of your life. And I don't know about you. I mean, I know about you. You've lost several people in multiple different kind of circumstances. And now as I've gotten older, I've lost multiple people. And it's just like, it goes back to like, it harkens back in the day when I was like young and whatever I was crazy while doing and thinking out of the box and like, why are you doing that? You need to get your shit together. It's like it all to this day, Jonathan, I have no regret. And I was like, I was on the money. I know I was on the money all this time. I know it. Something in me just said that I couldn't do anything else. And so it's all coming around. But now, I'm glad that you gave us insight, because I was going to ask you about what's on the radar, but that next project that you're working on right now is awesome.
Yep.
I mean, it's an incredible story that you've told, my man. Now let me ask, I'm going to give you one final question. Looking back, like, was there any lesson that you wish you had learned earlier in life that stands out right now that you're like, oh, okay, I've got that now? But is there any lesson that you thought wish you would have learned earlier?
I think the lesson is you just have to learn them, and you can't pivot until you actually learn them. So to go back and be like, oh, I wish I shut my mouth over here. I wish I, stepped differently over here. Of course, I wish I can go back and, do things differently in my childhood and as I went into my adolescence. And of course, I want my children or my friends back that passed away. Of course, I want to spend more time with my family. I wish I didn't have to be away from my first son Dominic and miss all this time in his life, of course, but that wouldn't have made me who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
That wouldn't have built me up into who I am, so I can be an even better father, an even better partner, an even better lover.
Yeah.
And when I first got here, I created my first business, and that relationship, like looking back, I was probably hell to deal with. She was getting the really bad end of the stick. And it's not until I met my current wife now, Jessica, that she really helped me realize that and change a lot of these things. And, you know, for the single guys out there, not saying you can't be very powerful as a single man, but a lot of times when you have that yin to your yang, that equal and opposite energy, but it's of the feminine or of you
Yeah.
could be gay and have that equal and opposite energy too. But for me,
Right.
speaking,
Yes.
for that female energy, it really helped me slow me down. It helped me be more kind. She brought a lot of realness to my life, calling me out of my shit. Because sometimes your business partners don't always call you out. They're not sometimes always that intimate in your life where they want to prod and poke things, but your wife will, your partner will. And so I think when I had our 4-year old daughter Charlie and our first daughter, I think that really changed a lot of things for me, how I view the world, how I carry myself, and also trying to slow down time. Where my whole life I was trying to speed up time to get to the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, right? Trying
Yeah.
to have that money so I can make those moves, do those things, have that success so people congratulated me or talked about me.
I'm so
And
with you. Yeah.
I think a good part of being in the military, and as part of being part of being like for me being a man, like one of the things you need to put in your belt is having your like parents and especially your father say like, I'm fucking proud of you, son.
There you go.
And I think once I fulfilled that, once I got back from the military, that released my soul of trying to work my entire life to make somebody sort of like proud of me. And I could sort of just get to work and put my head down and do selfless work without always having that in the background that I'm trying to like sort of like prove something on a daily basis to fulfill something in my soul.
Right. I mean, that is the hero's journey, my friend. And it's the dark path. And we have to like get out of our own way at times. Of course, our loved ones and you as a parent now that are going to be creating that structure and framework to protect your children, but also have that that moment where you're like, you got to set them free and let them trip over each other. And we go back to that Midwest, that scrapping, right? You got to have conflict. You got to have like challenges in the dark path, right? Unknowns, and figure it out. And there's a little suffering, right? You can't really appreciate those joys, but it's a great message. And you know, I can't say enough about you know the fortitude, and you just are, your vibration is like toxic and intoxicatingly positive. It's awesome. You're coming from a place that's a reality that most people can only just like kind of listen to and try to try to consume and try to like even come close. And so of course that level of you also reaching out even further back down, back in the Midwest and to these communities, it's just a heartfelt story, man. So I applaud you again. I look forward to continuing to get to know you and figure out if there's any synergy because my next company that I'm going to be launching is going to have some really interesting potential, and it's going to, it's definitely a new modality.
Touch on some real quick. So
Yeah.
our software Intune, right? So
Yep.
when they're taking a class or they're doing a workout with you or they're with me at the reality center or you're talking to a psychologist or whatever modality you're doing, right? The
Yeah.
in between, whether if you just do plant medicine, you do plant medicine once a month or once a year or whatever, the in between stuff,
Yeah.
when you can't go run and do ceremony or take a microdose or take a hit of weed or whatever it is, right? There's another thing that you need, right? It's like the glue that's connecting the in-between stuff. And that's why we built Intune, right? And so each, you know about energy centers and chakras. So
Yes.
each energy center and chakra has a color association to it,
Yes.
right? And if you take sound up 40 octaves, it turns into a specific color. That's how we can associate it with different resonance with different cavities and organs of your body. And so,
Right.
for instance, like, purple is your connection with above, the crown chakra. Red, which is the base note, is your grounding frequency. Green is the heart chakra, the center of your body. And so when you speak into our technology, these basically a rainbow of line bars build out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, for instance, if your wife was never allowed to speak her truths in life, she was, stifled and silenced, she won't be able to tone the throat chakra. So you'll see all the other color bars up, but there'll be dissonance and missing information where the throat chakra is.
That's crazy, dude.
And so
That
to
is
prove it how
crazy
this works is,
Yeah.
if they thought you killed somebody, the very first thing they're going to do is hook you up to a lie detector test.
Right.
Why the fuck would they do that? Because the voice never lies. And so we do the opposite of a lie detector test. We do a truth detector test. And so depending on, you just click, they're called surveys, and they're color coordinated, and depending on what you want to work on. So if it's, your crown chakra, mental clarity, you click mental clarity, it asks you 2 questions. You answer those questions, and as you're answering those questions in live time, those colored bar graphs are building out, right? And,
oh my gosh.
And so it's pulling what's called the fundamental frequency. It's like the lowest common denominator frequency of what you're speaking, right? And so it analyzes all that. It puts all the words in front of you. It puts the color of the key under all of the words that were the most important words, right?
Oh my gosh.
Then
That's
after
crazy,
you answer
dude.
after you answer the 2 questions, you hit upload. It analyzes it for like 10 seconds. Then it hits ready. Then you click open up binaural beats. Then you pick whatever brainwave state you want. So if you're trying to focus, you're going to put in alpha or beta. If you're trying to sleep, delta. You're trying to dream, theta. And you put headphones on, close your eyes, lay back, and a personalized binaural beat plays from your own biofeedback that's personalized to you.
Dude,
and so within moments,
my head is exploding right now.
So within moments, you can take somebody's heart rate. Wherever the heart goes, the brain goes.
Yeah.
Wherever the brain goes, the heart goes. So if somebody's overly thinking, their heart's going to speed up. It's going to create anxiety, right? And so we can speed up or slow down your heart and your brain waves within moments. And so we've done this and we've tested this technology. We did 13 events with the Department of Mental Health, 100 other vendors, fucking siesta, banda band playing, like loud shit, like distractions all over. Yeah. And we're like, no way, people are going to get distracted and spook out and open their eyes and stuff. Every single person, we say, just open your eyes when you're ready. You can sit there for as long as you want. We have them set a little intention. Yeah. Everybody sits there for 5 minutes, open their eyes, and they go, how long was I there for? And we're like, 5 minutes. And so they go deep internally within moments.
Wow.
And so with your practice, this can be something that you give to your people to become their own best medicine, their own human instrument. We look at everybody as an instrument, a different size instrument, a different kind of instrument. So you might be a trombone and I'm a tuba. And so we all need to be tuned differently. And it needs to be self-tuning, not you look up on YouTube what the frequency of love is, because it's going to be probably different for everybody.
Right.
And so we get people to be their own best medicine. And so in between the coaching sessions, in between the modalities, in between the psychedelic, journeys, they can just be in their car. I got on a Disney ride and I don't know why now. I used to rappel off 60-foot tower every day. Now I'm fearful of heights. And so
Huh.
in that moment, I would have loved to be like, oh, goddamn, do something about my fear right now. Put on the headphones, close my eyes, and, and
Uh-huh.
calm my nervous system down so I can get on this, ride with my kids so I didn't look like a puss. So yeah, I'll leave you with that. I got to go pick up my kids from class.
Okay.
But let's talk more. Let's do a call maybe next week, and I can
Yes.
share Intune with you and sort of our tech
Okay.
stack, and we can talk more about it.
So,
I love
again,
it.
Jonathan, I applaud your efforts. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and we'll talk again soon, buddy. All right.
Absolutely, Greg. Thank you so much for having me on. Look forward to talking offline about your new projects.
Yes. So back at you, and okay, kids. Till next time. Bye bye.